early loudspeaker solutions represented a fundamental shift in design philosophy that revolutionized the industry.
I've got a photo here of Dave Robb, who was for a brief period worked with us here at EAW.
He's definitely right on the verge of being that egghead professor, but not quite there, says Dave Robb. In a world of egos, Kenton Forsyth is an ideal collaborator. At the tender age of 3, Kenton was allegedly bitten by the audio bug. He'd sit on the floor, feeding the record player the same songs over and over again, driving his mom nuts. Not surprisingly, as a young teen, he was already tinkering with home stereos. He would go to Yale to study physics, but he switched to American and Asian history, the latter of which would certainly come in handy later. Kenton had a successful first career in urban planning in Berkeley, California, but all along he continued with a secondary gig as a hi-fi expert for all his friends. In the early 1970s, he started building loudspeakers for local bands. This was in Boston during the era when anyone could just walk into the library at Massachusetts Institute of Technology and use its resources. And Kenton did. Hours were spent photocopying articles out of the AES Journal. In 1974, he succumbed to that long-festering wound from that audio bug, and his hobby became his day job. He went to work for Delta Sound, a JBL distributor. There, he built PA rigs and handled local touring work. But he realized that he needed to take the next big step. With Lou Friedman, he set up a hi-fi retail operation appropriately called K&L Sound. When a kid named Ken Berger joined, the operation in general, and Kenton in particular, focused on pro audio. Forsyth Audio was formed. Dave Robb says that in the 1970s, good low-end cabinets were especially hard to come by. He spotted a little ad in a trade magazine that dared to brag, "We build a better bass box." Robb made the trip down to the shop and was so impressed with Kenton that he bought 8 without hearing them. As Berger explains, the industry was evolving, going from the empirical to the scientific. There were a lot of guys doing good sound, but they had little formal education and training. The first real breakthrough was the SR-250, a dual 15-inch bass horn design. Its success spurred a move to Watertown, Massachusetts, and in 1978 became a new version of the company, Eastern Acoustic Works. More products came, and then a big break. The Oak Ridge Boys, who were doing 300 shows a year, tired of loving what was referred to as portable junkyards, they embraced the CS-103, which featured low, mid, and high components all in a single bin. It was essentially the first one-box touring PA rig.
Good evening. I'm speaking to you tonight to give you a report on the state of our nation's economy. I regret to say that we're in the worst economic mess since the Great Depression.
But the 1980s pushed the company perilously to the brink of financial disaster. The products were always well received, but a brutal economy and high interest rates made for tough times. They brought in Bernie Berger, a successful businessman who put their house in order. He put up his pension for the sake of the company, so failure was not an option, Kenton says. Without Bernie, EAW would likely not have survived. Next, the team behind songstress Suzanne Vega wanted something smaller than the KF550. Kenton produced the KF850 speaker, which was quickly adopted by top touring acts, including Kiss and Eric Clapton. The affordable, powerful speaker became the #1 touring box in the world. In the 1990s, EAW took to the field. Literally, it was a transformative time for sporting teams, as powerful systems that could pump out spoken word and music were needed. EAW was there to supply the technology. From Fenway to Heinz, from the Cardinals to the White Sox, EAW systems are found in more than 50% of the Major League stadiums. In that decade, they also produced the MK series and the Avalon series. Then in 2000, EAW became part of the Loud Technologies family. With them, Kenton helped launch EAW Commercial, also developed with a KF760 and KF730 series line arrays. Today, he continues to develop new products, focusing on design concepts. These days, I just consider myself fortunate to have an amazing crew of people who can take on the work, he says. Jeff Roca sums it up when he says, Kenton is phenomenally driven and will not settle for anything less than the best. Reflecting back on their long friendship, Berger recounts all the late nights Kenton put in at the workbench. But what sticks with him, and so many others most, is the vast library of knowledge Kenton possesses. Today, when kids have a question, they Google it. Back then, we just asked Kenton.
Hey!